Welcome back to the Houston Texans franchise on Madden 23, guys. Before I get started, man, I want to thank you guys for allowing your boy to take a week off from uploading. I was fighting a head cold all week, and the struggle was real. There goes my pup. He wanted to come in and say hi. But we're back, and we're getting ready to get into this off season. But first, we got to recap this crazy season that was, man. Season 4, I believe, of the Texans franchise will arguably go down as one of the most bizarre and entertaining seasons so far of this franchise. We did go back-to-back, winning our second Super Bowl championship in 2 years. I think this team got better towards the end of the season. The beginning of the year was a slow grind for us. In fact, in this video, man, we'll look back at the season. We'll go through the schedule. We'll look at all the stats and then get ready for an important offseason for this team. There's some moves that need to be made to make sure that we can go back to our third straight Super Bowl. Let's jump in. Coming into the preseason, man, I felt like our Texans were very sluggish. Had like a little Super Bowl hangover. We finished the preseason 1-2, and then we jumped into the regular season. And things got a little interesting off the bat, losing the season opener to the Colts 31-28. And this kind of set up a rivalry of sorts for the rest of the season. We lost this game, then went on a 2-game winning streak, beating the Seahawks and the Cardinals. In fact, blanking the Cardinals 38-0. But then we went on a 2-game losing streak to the Bills and the Chargers. At this point, I was concerned. We are sitting at 2-3 on the season. We are not beating the teams that we beat last year. But then in week 6, man, we took on the Chiefs and we handled business 41-31, getting the dub over the Chiefs. And then back home, getting ready to take on the Titans. We won this one walking away 45-24. Caleb Stafford had a big day, 373 through the air, 3 touchdowns. And this is the emergence of Scotty Miller as our secret weapon, taking him from wide receiver and moving him to running back. Arguably one of the best choices we could do this entire year. He was like the X factor for the rest of the year. We took on the Colts again, and that was our last loss. Week 8 was our last loss of the season. We got blown out the water, 48-31. And something kind of flipped, like the switch flipped for this team. Just running the gauntlet for the rest of the year, handling business. The Bengals game was by far the most entertaining game we had all season. I'm doing the math off the top of my head. 122 points scored in one football game. It's insane. But we handled business. That started the chain reaction of blowouts for the rest of the year. Then we got into the playoffs, and it just continued. We beat the Chargers, getting our revenge. We beat the Colts, getting our revenge. And then we blew out the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, 57-9. Interesting tidbit about this regular season, at the end of the regular season, the last 3 games were on the road. And look at the numbers that we put up, man. Week 17, 59 points. Week 18, 55 points. In the divisional, 52. Conference and the AFC Championship, 52. And then the Super Bowl, 57. So we put up over 50 points to close out the year. The offense was just clicking. The defense was just clicking. And we were able to bring that Lombardi trophy back home to Houston. All right, so let's take a look at the season stats. Caleb Stafford in his second season, 5,300 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, but 31 interceptions. In his second year, man, really took that next step. I feel like he's the superstar X factor, 90 overall, I believe. The interceptions are concerning, very much so. I felt like a lot of drop passes this year, a lot of forced balls downfield. We were trying to move the ball. We were trying to be an explosive offense. And as you can see, over 600 yards more through the air. Touchdowns were down. It felt like it was like 5 less touchdowns, but 5 more interceptions, if that makes sense. Completion percentage is down, but yards of attempt went up. Yards per game went up. I think he is probably one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the league right now. And I feel like this next year, in his third year, that's when you're really going to see him kind of mature even more into more of a generational type quarterback. Matt Drummond got some playing time, man. 5 of 9. He had a touchdown and an interception. On the ground, though, you guys already know Dameon Pierce is a monster. 420 yards or 420 carries, 2,290 yards, 28 touchdowns. Now, you guys are probably looking like, see, there's no way a running back can go for 2,000 yards in 3 straight seasons. Numbers don't lie. He did that 3 years straight, over 20 touchdowns in the last 3 seasons, man. This kid has been the MVP of the league in my opinion, all 3 seasons. Only thing that's down for him are his yards per carry. The touchdowns went back up. The yards per game went down. The break tackles went down, but his fumbles kind of stayed the same. He had a log of 81 this year, which is his longest of his career. Just, again, dominant running back. Towards the end of the season, we kind of found our groove, getting Julius Temple some more touches, 78 carries, 433 yards, 6 touchdowns. Again, I would love for him to be somewhere between like 600 to 700 yards in a season. But the 6 touchdowns, that was great for him. He had a breakout game. I believe he had over 100 yards. I forgot when that game was. Oh, he had 92 yards versus the Cardinals. Then he had 68 yards, 75 yards versus the Jags and a touchdown. 89 yards versus the Colts in the AFC Championship game. Going into next season, expect his role to be expanded a little bit more, man. You see his player tag has changed now. He is a future starter. It's really great to see 2 running backs having that player tag. The future is bright in our backfield. We signed Scotty Miller late in the season, 11 carries, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns, but his role was more of a third down back. As a wide receiver out of the backfield, he's a matchup nightmare for linebackers and for some safeties. We got Caleb Stanford on the ground with 44 yards, and Keeney Nwangwu had 27 yards. Out wide, we let Brandon Cooks walk this past offseason, which opened up the door for Trey Graham to become option number 1. And this year, he balled out. 121 catches, 1,788 yards, 11 touchdowns. Superstar development. I mean, he is arguably the best slot receiver in the league. Last year, 82 grabs for just under 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns. He went for 121 catches this year, almost 15 yards per catch. I mean, there's not a lot that I can say about this kid, man. He just balled out. Super Bowl, 10 catches. Versus the Chargers, 10 catches. He had one game where he just went crazy. 13 grabs for 190 and 2 scores versus the Colts. 10 for 126 versus the Jags. Here it is, the Chiefs game. 14 catches, 159 yards and a touchdown. Another 10-catch game versus the Bills. Another one versus the Seahawks. Arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. And to think he's only going into his 3rd season, so he's only going to get better from here. We have a nice, I say nice, but a great nucleus of players that we've drafted and developed here in Houston. Christian Watson, we picked him up. I think it was at the trade deadline, right? 77 grabs, almost 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a great receiver on the opposite side of T. Higgins, and he allows Trey Graham to roam the middle. We got Brevin Jordan, 48 catches, 829 and 5 scores. I love him as a tight end. He's a great safety valve for Stanford when he needs to just check the ball down. T. Higgins, 48 grabs, 645 and 8 touchdowns. He was supposed to be wide receiver number 1 for us. I think Trey Graham has definitely taken that role over, but I still like T. Higgins as a red zone threat. Big body, 6'4", 216, and he'll moss somebody. He'll jump up and moss you real nice. As I mentioned before, Scotty Miller, we picked him up at wide receiver in the free agency. Middle of the season, we converted him to a running back because we knew that his skill set would become a matchup nightmare. 33 grabs, 426 scores. Donald Parham as tight end number 2, 16 grabs, 209 and a touchdown. He had a clean catch in the Super Bowl. If y'all missed it, go back and check it out, man. Dameon Pierce, 14 for 86 and a touchdown. Tyquan Thornton, we had big plans for him during the offseason last year. Only 10 catches, 85 yards, and 2 scores. Kyrie Joyner, 3 for 40, and Emmett Crowder, 5 for 39. Taking a look at the offensive line, I felt like we were under pressure a lot this year. I felt like Caleb Stanford was either getting hit, getting pressured. We gave up 6, or Elton Jacob gave up 6 sacks. Tunsil gave up 5. So did Brian Scott, the rookie left tackle. Josh Roden gave up 2. Kenyon Green and James Daniel each gave up 1. I think another key pickup that we had this year was picking up James Daniels in before the trade deadline. We needed to get a better right guard. Adam Rowe is a solid player, but he's more of a role player, at least for our offense. He might be a trade target going into the offseason. All right, to the defense side of the ball we go. Christian Harris led the team again, 142 tackles, 12 TFLs, and an interception. He just signed a mega deal during the season. I believe he is now the highest paid defensive player in the league, and he deserves it. Honestly, if we're being real, he's been the best linebacker in the NFL for at least the past 4 seasons. His rookie year really exploded on the scene, putting up big numbers, and he just continued to hold steady. I don't like that he didn't have any sacks this year. A lot of interception chances, but a few drops. But again, he's the captain of our defense. He's the player that sets the tone for us. And even though our numbers dropped terribly this year, we were awful on defense, he was still able to lead the team with 142 tackles. Jabril Peppers at strong safety. This year we moved him down more into the box safety position, like we did when we first picked him up. 132 tackles, 6 TFLs. He also had 5 interceptions this year. I'm up in the air about Jabril. He's got a year. He's a year older now. This will be his third. He's coming off his 3rd season with us. He's a solid player, but again, as he gets older, he'll start to slow down, start to regress. How much longer do we want to keep him around? That's going to be the question we look at this offseason. Cortland Davidson, we picked him up in the draft just a few seasons ago, and he was 3rd on the team with 102 tackles. I felt like teams really started to target him a lot the past, at the end of the season. But he held his own in the playoffs. I felt like he didn't give up a lot of plays in the playoffs. He has locked down that nickel cornerback position for us. But what we might start to look to do with him is let him play on the outside, especially when he's got the 6'3" frame, 188 pounds. He's tall and lanky. Let him play on the outside. Let Trayvon Mullen play the other outside corner, and we might put Derek Stingley in the slot corner. But this kid, man, he's really coming on the scene now. He's up to superstar development, which is really going to help him out as he continues to grow in the position. And I see nothing but a bright future for this guy, man. 94 speed, 87 man coverage. He's just getting better. The only thing I wish was a little bit better was his play rec and his acceleration. That's why I think putting him on the outside might help his career out a little bit more. Then there's Jalen Bullard. We traded for him right before the trade deadline, 6'4", 182 from Pittsburgh, 4th-year player. He had 97 tackles on the year. Again, another one of those players where I feel like he can match up with a tight end just because of his size. But the speed really is not there, 90 speed. And when we're going up against players like Travis Kelce, the Darren Wallers of the world, he doesn't have the speed to stay with those guys. Let's talk about Trayvon Mullen, guys. This has been a crazy season for him. 93 tackles, 6 TFLs. He had 13 interceptions on the year. Defensive player of the year in the AFC. And if I feel like since we traded for him back in season 2, he's just been balling for us. He has gotten better every year. He's a true shutdown corner now for us. He went from 7 to 9 to 13 interceptions. Teaming him up with Derek Stingley and Cortland Davidson, I think we have 3 of the best corners in this league. It's really going to be hard to pass the ball on us. Now, he is known to give up a big play, but when we need a stop or we need a turnover, Trayvon Mullen was there for us. And his running mate, Derek Stingley, what a year he had. 68 tackles, 12 interceptions. He also has that superstar X factor. I would say that Stingley is the best corner in the league today. He's young, he's fast, he'll go get the pick. He does not mind hitting. He likes to tackle. And again, the numbers don't lie. 4, 7, 9, 12 interceptions. Just kept gradually getting better and better every season. We have, again, two of the best corners in the league. You're not going to be able to stop. You're not going to be able to throw the ball on us. Darnell Savage, again, another player we picked up midway through the season. 77 tackles. He had an interception. Just a great defender over the top for us. Julian Love, we picked him up in free agency, and it didn't work out. 51 tackles and only 1 interception. Last year's defensive player of the year was Jeffrey Simmons. He finishes the year with 46 tackles and 11 sacks. Again, just a dominating force up the middle for us. His sack total is down. He was hurt for most of the season. I think if he wasn't, he would have those crazy numbers like he did during his defensive player of the year run. But still a terror, man. Caused a lot of pressure up front, especially in that Super Bowl. He's locked in. He's not going anywhere. The contract is fat. He's paid. We just got to keep allowing him to do his thing as a constant pressure up the middle. Jonathan Grenard, he had 37 tackles on the year, 10 sacks. Another guy that was hurt a lot this year, but still was able to get double-digit sacks. And then Tavares Branch, 36 tackles, 19 TFLs, and 7 sacks. I feel like we've got a really good defensive line group. Branch is our speedster off the edge. Jonathan Grenard is more of our power rusher. And then you got Jeffrey Simmons up the middle, collapse in the pocket. If we could keep these 3 guys together this season, they can stay healthy. It's going to be scary for a lot of offenses. Mitch Paulson saw some time, 34 tackles. You got Dane Landry down here with 28. Blake Cashman, a really good backup linebacker for us, 22 tackles. Christian Barmore in his first season with the Texans, 17 tackles, 2 sacks. And then our rookie that we drafted last year, George Calhoun, he had 14 tackles and 2 sacks. And that raises a question, man. Do we hold on to Barmore, or do we look to trade him and allow George Calhoun to step into that defensive tackle number 2 spot on the opposite side of Jeffrey Simmons? Jacob Rogan was a rookie linebacker we drafted last year, 13 tackles. Nate Van Buren, he had 9 tackles and 2 sacks. He had 8 tackles and a sack and a half. Divine Diablo with 8 tackles, and he had Eric Murray down here with 6. And Dean Leonard, he had 4 tackles. Here's a look at the sack department. Jeffrey Simmons led the team with 11. Grenard had 10. Branch with 7. I would love to see him in double-digit numbers next year. You got Barmore and Calhoun and Van Buren with 2. Here's with the sack and a half. Jalen Buller had a sack, and Jabril Peppers with half a sack. Turnover department, our corners holding it down. Mullen, 13 picks. Stingley had 12. Peppers with 5. Davidson had 5. And then you had Harris, Savage, and Love each with 1. The forced fumbles, Christian Harris had 3. Davidson forced 2. Then you've got a host of guys down here with 1. Stingley, Love, Grenard, Bullard, and Rogan. Recoveries, Davidson had 2. Simmons, Savage, and Barmore. And defensive touchdowns, Derek Stingley had 5 pick sixes this year, which is crazy. Davidson and Mullen each with 2. He has Simmons, Harris, and Peppers with 1. We had a safety too, right? Yeah, we had a safety. Jeffrey Simmons got a safety. Kicking department, I think we have the best kicker in the league with Kai Fairbairn, 26 of 26 on field goals. He was 83 of 84 on extra points, only missing 1. He had a long this year of 59. Punt game, Cameron Johnson, 30 punts, 1,346 yards. He had 6 inside the 20 and only 1 touchback this year. Keeney Nwangwu, Arguably the best returner in the game. Almost 1,700 yards on kickoff returns with 2 touchdowns, including a 99-yarder he took back to the crib. And in the punt game, he had 40 returns for 368. And I think he had a punt return touchdown in the playoffs. Dangerous guy, very fast. You can't kick the ball to him. You have to kick the ball away for him, or he's going to make you pay. All right, so let's take a look around the NFL at some of the numbers, man. Tyler Huntley in Tampa Bay has turned himself into a franchise quarterback, putting up insane numbers. Almost 5,700 yards through the air, 42 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Since Tom Brady left, this kid is just like, the numbers have been unreal. Almost 5,000 yards for the past 3 seasons, over 40 touchdowns. Tom Brady, who? You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen finished the year with 5,300 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 picks. Caleb Stanford, third in the league in passing yards. We talked about his stats already. There's Patrick Mahomes, 5,100 yards, 44 touchdowns, 18 picks. Desmond Ridder for the Falcons. He's come on too, almost 5,100 yards, 45 and 16. Prescott, 5,100 yards, 41 and 13. T-Law had a good year. So did Justin Herbert. I mean, look at all these AFC quarterbacks. Man, we got some dogs in the AFC. Here's Joe Burrow. Derek Carr, still a Raider. You got Tua down here, almost 5,000 yards. Sam Darnold with the Giants, almost 5,000 yards. Russ was cooking. He almost had 4,800 yards. Mac Jones almost had 4,800 yards. There's Marcus Mariota. He's a Packer now. Justin Fields in LA has a franchise quarterback tag now. And then the rookie, Damian Francis. I think if he would have played in that AFC Championship game, it would have been a lot closer. It would have been a lot closer. This kid had 50 touchdowns in his rookie year. The future is scary in Indy. On the ground, Damian Pierce led the league with just under 2,300 yards rushing, 28 touchdowns. You had Zeke with 15, 54, and 19 scores. Joe Mixon, 15, 37, and 18 scores. Nick Chubb just under 1,500 yards with 14 scores. Najee just under 1,400 yards and 14 scores. Dalvin had 1,385 and 17. Antonio Gibson, really good year for him, man. 1,364 and 10. Javonte Williams, 1,323 and 17. Look at Josh Jacobs, 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns. Who had the most? Oh, Dawson Knox, but that's only one. I mean, Jonathan Taylor averaged 6 yards per carry this year. That's crazy. Rushing touchdowns, Pierce with 28. Jacobs had 20. Zeke with 19. Mixon with 18, and a lot of guys with 17. Here's a look at the receiving numbers. Cooper Kupp continues to put up insane numbers with the Rams. Now he's got Justin Fields throwing the ball, 140 grabs, 1952, and 24 scores. 24 touchdowns as a wide receiver is just insane. But if you look back last year, 139 catches, over 2,000 yards and 23 scores. And then 2023, 1,879 and 15 scores. His hands are magnets. Stephon Diggs, second in the league, 139, 1,900 yards, 10 touchdowns. There's Trey Graham, third in the league with 121 grabs, 1,788 and 11. He could next year, if this continues, man, he could go for over 2,000 yards next year. Dalton Schultz at tight end was fourth in the league with 115 grabs for 1,246 and 13 scores. There's Mike Evans with 110 catches, 15, 18, and 8 scores. Kyle Pitts at tight end, 110 catches, 13, 72, and 12. There's Jamar Chase. Sky Moore, he had a big year. Travis Kelce had a big year. TJ Hawkinson continues to be really good. There's Cortland Sutton. And then a host of names that you're familiar with: Tyler Boyd, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. There's Pat Freiermuth, the tight end from the Steelers. Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Hunter Henry, Gary Crawford, fourth-year player from LSU for the Browns, 89 grabs, 1,168 yards, and 9 scores. Brian Edwards kind of rejuvenated his career down in Atlanta, 89 grabs for just under 1,207 scores. I mean, we've got some players in this league now, man. There's some dogs here. There's some dogs in this league. I'm excited to see what the future holds for a lot of these players, man. Let's see. Oh, my God. Looking at the defense, man. Look at the guys putting up crazy numbers. Aaron Donald, 23.5 sacks. Nick Bosa had 16. There's Chris Jones with 15.5. So did Myles Garrett and Josh Allen from the Falcons. TJ Watt with 15 and Jonathan Allen with 15. They don't show our guys with the interceptions, but we had to lead the league, 13 and 12. Yeah, we led the NFL in interceptions. Taking a look at the team rank numbers, man. We led the league in scoring, just under 41 points per game. We were 7th in passing yards. We had the number 1 rushing offense, but then the defense just wet the bed. We gave up 28 points per game, which is close to last. We gave up 313 yards through the air, which was dead last. Considering that we had 25 interceptions, it's kind of crazy. And then we were number 2 against the run, only giving up 89 yards. So let's look at the season recap. Josh Allen walks away with the NFL MVP. Our coach, Lovie Smith, is your coach of the year. Cooper Kupp is the offensive player of the year in the NFL. Aaron Donald takes home another defensive player of the year. Damian Francis, the quarterback from the Colts, is your offensive rookie of the year. And then Reggie Clifford, middle linebacker from the Rams, is your defensive rookie of the year. But the Lombardi Trophy comes home for the second time in 2 years. Houston, stand up. So it's time to look ahead, man, to this offseason. Some moves that we need to make. Some moves that could help this team go back to Super Bowl for the third time in 3 years. And it's going to be some tough decisions to make. I think the first player that we really have to look at is Laremy Tunsil. He's got 2 years left on this deal, making big money. He's got $23 million next year, $24 million in 2027. He has regressed, though. He's down to an 88 overall at 32 years of age. Still a solid player. Still has that star development. Really good pass block, solid run block. He's still a really good player, but if the team wants to get better, we might have to look to move on. That's $40 million in the next 2 seasons for him. We do have Brian Scott here, second-year tackle from Missouri. He's got star development. Now, the blocking traits aren't there just yet. 73 run block, 81 pass block. His run block power, run block finesse need to get a whole lot better. And that takes some time. You know what I mean? We can develop him as a starting left tackle next season if we were looking to make that move. As of right now, they have him as the 25th ranked left tackle in the league. I think it's a move that needs to be made just to free up some money. Right now, we've got $33 million in cap space. If we look to get rid of Laremy, probably looking to get in the 45 to 50 range, which could help us make some more moves to fill up a couple more positions. Another move that could be made, Jonathan Grenard could be traded this year. He'll be entering his 7th year out of Florida. And again, he lost his superstar development. That's kind of like that starter. You start to lose your development. You're losing points here and there. Again, not the fastest coming off that corner anymore. 81 speed. He's got a 92 finesse move, solid block shedding traits, great tackler. But again, do we look to get younger there on the defensive line? What would his trade value be worth? He's another one of those guys who just got a nice little deal not too long ago. I would love to kick him inside to play D tackle, but I just don't think that that's going to be a move that we're going to make. He's guaranteed almost $11 million this year, almost $12 million next year, and just over $12 million in 2028. So we could get his salary off of the books, look to go get a younger defensive end to team up with Branch that could be a little bit faster around the corner, bringing a lot more pressure. Now, as I mentioned before, Christian Barmore is another player that I'm thinking about trading. Yes, we did just sign him this past offseason, but I don't think I realized what I had in George Calhoun. We drafted Calhoun after we signed Barmore, and I kind of like Calhoun. Now, Barmore, big body dude, 6'4", 310, but the numbers just weren't there this year. Only 17 tackles, 7 TFLs, 2 sacks. And that was after, he started for most of the season, and then we started to work in Calhoun a little bit more playing time. But I was expecting these numbers that he had in New England, somewhere upward of 50 tackles with 5 to 6 sacks. Again, a little bit tougher. He's playing next to Jeffrey Simmons, who needs a lot more who demands a lot more attention. But Barmore, I don't say he was a bad pickup. I just think that we should have waited and let George Calhoun get a lot more playing time. They put up pretty much the same numbers, but I would rather have Calhoun develop in that position and let him grow instead of paying Barmore a lot of money. And we'll go to the secondary room, and I'll talk about my strong safeties. Jabril Peppers on the last year of his deal. Not sure what we're going to do. I really do like him as that sub linebacker next to Christian Harris. But I know one thing, Julian Love will not be back with the team next year. Maybe we look to move one of these corners to safety. Maybe like a Jalen Bullard move into a safety position, or even a Cortland Davidson. I think that would be a smart move for us because they're both tall. They both have great speed. We just need somebody who's going to be able to play over the top. So before we get out of here, let's take a quick look at the draft. We've got the number 32 pick this year. We're not really in need of too much, right? We've got our star quarterback. We've got our big 3, big 4 on offense. We've got our big 3, big 4 on defense. Now it's just about filling the gaps. This draft is very interesting. As you can see, we have strengths at right tackle, quarterback, and wide receiver. The right tackle, kind of intriguing because we could potentially move Elton Jenkins to the left side and draft a new right tackle. Granted, we do have two guys on the roster right now that could step in and play if we look to get rid of Lermy Tunsil. But the weaknesses are outside linebacker, free safety, and tight end. The top draft picks or the top prospects right now, Michael Springs at quarterback, Trey Barrett at quarterback, Stephen Cook at quarterback. Then you got Trayvon Underwood at tackle and Dwayne Waddle at tackle. Again, we are picking last in the draft this year. So a lot of these guys are not going to be players that we can go after. And that's okay. And I'm okay with that, man. I right now I'm looking to find pass rushers. That's going to be my biggest search right now. We need somebody who can either replace Johnny Grenard or add to what we already have. And then I would like to get a little bit more deeper into the offensive line as well. If we are looking to trade away Lermy Tunsil, who's going to be that player that we replace him with? Is it Brian Scott at tackle? Or is it somebody that we look to go out and draft and sign? There are a lot of sleepers in this draft. A lot of sleepers. A lot of good players in this draft. We'll talk about the draft. I'll be doing a draft preview special here in the next couple videos. But just know I've got some guys marked off on my board who I think would definitely help out this team moving forward. And it's one of those things where I feel like we won't skip a beat if we're able to draft some of these guys. Right now, I think we have over 30, close to 40 prospects. Yeah, close to 40 prospects on our board right now. And they all can come in and make an immediate impact for a Super Bowl winning team. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the season recap. I'm excited, man, because we're going into one of my favorite times of the year, the offseason. Free agency, trades, draft time. It's all going to be a good time. Like I mentioned, man, we're going to break this next chunk of videos down into 3 different videos. You'll get the free agency and trades part in one video. You'll get an NFL draft preview special, and then you'll get the NFL draft going into season 5. I'm excited, man. This is going to be the last season of the Houston Texans franchise, and I'm excited to try to make it for the first time in NFL history 3 Super Bowls in a row, man. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're brand new. Don't forget to ring that bell, join the Noti Squad, and check out all those links down in my descriptions. Follow your boy on Facebook, Twitter, And come through and join the Discord fam for exclusive content. We'll talk from free agency. We'll see what kind of moves we can make with this squad, man. Have a great day, guys. 2 fingers in the air. Peace.
Big shout out to all the members that support this channel. If you would like to become a member, check out the link down below.